everybody, and welcome to another video on Not Just Lalo. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you have not done so yet, do hit the beautiful red button below to subscribe to my channel so that you can see more content like this on a weekly basis. And don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. So over the past couple of months, well, since I started my channel really, a couple of people have asked me to make another video about my bipolar disorder. And I don't know, I suppose that some people find that interesting. I guess that's something I could do if you guys want to see that. So what we're going to be unpacking today is, has bipolar disorder ruined my life? Many of my subscribers already know I have been diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, and that basically means that I have hypomanic episodes and severe depressive episodes, and now and again I have mixed episodes just sprinkled in there like parsley. And what bipolar disorder basically is extreme shifts in mood. So you have extreme lows and extreme highs. So I have way more severe lows than I do highs, which is why I have hypomanic episodes as opposed to manic episodes. Now, people do exist out there that have way more severe bipolar disorder than I do. This entire video is definitely about my own experiences. So bipolar disorder is something that has to be lived with 24/7, 365, from the moment that you wake up to the moment that you go to sleep. And because of this, it obviously affects your life severely and in different ways. But to what extent? I also have a combination. I'm neurodivergent as well as mentally ill. So I have a combination of ADHD and bipolar disorder. I do take medication for my ADHD as well as my bipolar disorder. So the first aspects of my life that we're going to be looking at that is affected by my disorder are my relationships. Now, everybody is aware that relationships are a fundamental part of human development, and a lack thereof is going to have a negative effect on any human being. So now, relationships for me work a little bit differently because I always have to, first of all, make someone aware of my condition. I personally hate that part because I always have to tell people that there's something wrong with me, or I behave in a certain way sometimes, and not to take it personally and that. And I don't know, like, I shouldn't have an issue with it, but kind of being a human being that comes with a disclaimer isn't that great. It doesn't feel all that great having to explain yourself every single time you start a new relationship. Although I do understand that it is necessary for some people to understand and relate to me a little bit better. It is very difficult for me because you kind of have to swallow your pride and be like, hey, listen, there's something wrong with me. Relationships overall are just incredibly difficult for me to maintain because when I have depressive episodes, I withdraw, and when I have hypomanic episodes, I'm this amazingly friendly person, but I can also be this incredibly aggressive person and irritable person who is not that great to be around. It will just result in a crippling loneliness because you'll also always feel like, as much as people care about you, they can't fully understand you. And it really do be like that sometimes. So the second aspect of my life that's majorly affected by my diagnoses actually, is school. So school's a major part of my life. I'm a full-time student. I'm unemployed. So school is greatly affected by my disorder. And if you've seen one of my other videos, I'll put the little card over here. I was excluded. And this was due to the fact that I lost my father, and my mental health was in the fucking gutter, to say the least. And that's, long story short. But the worst thing is that institutions like schools or financial institutions like banks and that, when you have a mental illness, it's very difficult to be a functioning adult. And a lot of the time, institutions actually don't give two shits whether your symptoms of your illness are severe or what you're going through. You have to make your payments on time, you have to meet deadlines. That's a very difficult thing to do, especially when you have a mental illness that's as severe as bipolar disorder. Like I said earlier, I do have a combination of ADHD and bipolar disorder, and both of those things affect my performance in school greatly. I obviously am someone, as you can see, who's managing their illness relatively well, But yeah, I have a combination of those two, and as you can imagine, it makes my academic life incredibly difficult. Because of the combination of those two illnesses, the neurodiversity as well as the mental illness, it's very difficult for me to meet deadlines. It's very difficult for me to be incredibly organized, to maintain focus, especially if I'm hypomanic at the same time. You just pray that you hyperfixate on the right thing. You pray that you hyperfixate on schoolwork as opposed to hyperfixating on TikToks. So the different ways that affect school is when I'm depressed, I am incredibly apathetic. I have no will to live and I have no desire to excel academically. I have no desire to even be average academically. I have no desire to work. I have no desire to do anything except stay in my bed and wallow. That can be very difficult when you've got a shitload of deadlines waiting for you, one after the other. So I'll end up just not doing any work and be like, you know what, I'll do it later, or I'll do it when I'm feeling better. And I never feel better. I'm trying very hard not to make my academic career dependent on the state that my emotions are in, but it's obviously very difficult dealing with something that takes over your entire life. But on the other end, when I'm manic or hypomanic, I can get so fixated. I get hyperfixation. And what hyperfixation is exactly that. It's self-explanatory. You get incredibly fixated on one thing. Now, it doesn't work out for me when that one thing that I'm hyperfixated on is not academics. It could be anything under the sun, but what happens is that you get manic and then you just pray that you get hyperfixated on school. Another thing that I did do was I changed from a fine arts degree to a BCom financial sciences, and the reason that I did that is because I felt like fine arts was just asking a lot of me, because every single time you hand something in, you have to put a lot of yourself into what you produce, and I had nothing. I was so severely depressed that I felt like I just had nothing for an entire year. I just could not give of myself to that degree. If you'd like to know more about that, I'll put the card to the video over here. So ultimately, let's discuss this. Has bipolar disorder ruined my life? I feel like I got my bipolar disorder diagnosis when I was 16 or 17, and I've realized that, you know, I've always had I've always had bipolar. Like, I've always had it. You're born with it. It's a thing. Like, you don't suddenly catch it like COVID. Just because my diagnosis came 16 years later, it doesn't mean that I wasn't going through what I was going through. I can't exactly say that getting my diagnosis ruined my life, because it gave me an opportunity to get treatment. It gave me an opportunity to have somebody to talk to, and it gave a name to something that I was dealing with from when I was a young child. Ultimately, I'm very grateful for my diagnosis. I don't think that my diagnosis has ruined my life at all. If anything, it's made it easier to deal with and define what's been going on in my life. And if you know what the problem is, then ultimately you know how to fix it. Unfortunately, we have gotten to the end of yet another video. Do let me know in the comment box below if you have any more questions. Let me know if you'd like to see more videos like this. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, like it anyways. And don't forget to hit the beautiful red button below to subscribe to the Lalo Dinga fam family so that you can see more content like this on a weekly basis. I will see you guys again next Monday in another video.